Hey! Hey there! Today I'm going to show you my Hive Master build. Hive Master was dropped last month, but because of its underwhelming performance, they had to buff the ability together with the most recent patch. I was so glad that I didn't upload my build for it yet because I hate it when there will be changes prior to my upload like what happened to a few of my videos. Hive Master is a mobbing weapon that deals multiple instances of AoE damage to the surrounding enemies. Hitting an enemy with the weapon a number of times will grant a buff called Incubate. While Incubate is at max stacks, transforms the buff into Incubation Complete. While this buff is active, the first enemy hit by the first bullet will be inflicted with the attached bug debuff and grants refill culture to yourself, which grants 10% toxic bonus attack to your weapon. Enemy inflicted with the attached bug periodically zaps nearby enemies every 5 seconds up to a maximum of 5 targets, which is amplified by how many targets are within the radius of effect. Firing at the enemy with the attached bug will reduce the zap interval by 500 milliseconds per bullet. And no, multi-hit doesn't trigger this. Additionally, the enemy inflicted with attached bug will also deal an additional massive AoE damage based on how many times you've shot the target. Shooting the enemy with the attached bug debuff 20 times will deal an AoE damage around 15 meters in radius. That's also amplified by how many targets are within the radius of effect to a maximum of 5 targets. This will also stun the affected enemies. So essentially, you want to shoot this weapon to the toughest target you see, because shooting and applying the insect on trash mobs will be a waste since they die the second you apply the debuff. And this won't allow you to trigger the bonus AoE damage. It essentially resets the condition. This weapon, like a lot of the tactical rifle, has an identity crisis. Like the Greg's Reverse Fate, this weapon has viable stats in multi-hit, critical hit, and weak point. Tactical weapons also has a weird way of calculating its fire rate. The weapon's actual fire rate is just 120 rounds per minute. But because this weapon fires 5 shots per burst, it's at 600 fire rate in the tooltip. So if given a chance to modify this weapon's fire rate by 90% cap, we can get it up to 6,000 rounds per minute. Now I know that the fire rate cap is only 2,000, but I said earlier that tactical weapon fire rate calculation is weird, and that is also why a lot of people were confused when they saw Greg's Reverse Fate went over the 2,000 fire rate cap. And I explained it in my post here. Link to the post in the description and pinned comment if you want to read it or just pause the video. For now, every damage modifier except weak point and multi-hit is inherited to the ability damage, which means going into weak point or multi-hit does not affect the zaps and the discharge from the ability. And because of this weapon's massive multi-hit damage, a lot of people might build this into multi-hit. We are actually going to build this weapon as a hybrid focusing on crits, mainly because crit will actually give us more damage than multi-hit due to the fact that crits directly affect the damage of our ability, which triggers a lot. Weak point will boost the bullet damage, but again, it doesn't affect the ability, so going into stats that inherits to the ability will be better, hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. This is the build. Again, the best build is the hybrid build, where you go for critical and multi-hit at the same time. Multi-hit is important because this weapon has a base multi-hit damage of 65% and crit because it's an overall boost to our damage, taking into account the many damage intervals that this weapon's ability dishes out. This gives a lot more DPS than going pure crit and going pure multi-hit. For the crit build, this can be used when you're using Hailey, Valby, and any other Descendant that buffs critical hit rate of the weapon. It's the same, but for Hailey specifically, change Edging Shot to Insight Focus. Other crit Descendant might still use Edging Shot because they won't be able to cap the crit rate to 100% like Hailey does. For Gley and Serena, It's just the same, but since they have a special case of increasing average shot through reload abilities, replace expand weapon charge with multi-induction or rifling reinforcement if you have a low weak point hit rate. Remember guys that these are general builds. You can still tinker this weapon in a pre-made party for buffs, and tinker the weapon build if you're also using the firearm nodes in your arcade tuning. Is this a good mobbing gun? It actually kinda is, especially against Void Erosion Purge. But for weaker contents, it falls short by a lot. And I still don't see an instance where I'll use this weapon over Restored Relic and Malevolent. That's it for the video guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
Take this!